I feel like the
Yeah.
fact that we like wrote every second week, and once we started writing, it was just like, okay, you have to study. But I did struggle with a few subjects like Momed. Yeah, Momed almost had me. I was almost in second year because of Momed. But besides that, like I feel like with anatomy, the only thing that this year's second years are gonna like struggle with like learning that actually helped me was the dissections, because the lectures were pretty
Yeah.
much useless for
Yeah.
anatomy. The dissections kind of taught me more than like the actual lectures, because you could prepare for that and after the dissection go and look at your work again. But
Yeah.
besides that, I feel like second year is it's not the worst thing that can ever happen to someone, honestly. If you can survive first year chemistry, you can survive second year.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
No, I agree, you guys. I feel like chemistry was the worst thing that ever happened to me in medical school so far. So if you could survive that, then you're
Yeah,
fine.
honestly.
Yeah. Uzane, what were your thoughts on second year?
That consistency is very, very important. It makes the end of second year a lot easier. And third block is very emotionally taxing. So if you're consistent from the beginning, it makes that part a lot easier. But I will say, because you can't just say be consistent throughout, because life doesn't stop just because you're second year. I think the most important thing is finding the balance between the schoolwork and actual like personal life, because it's a very emotional year. So I feel like you're around people who you can vent to, people you can talk to, and like have a good support system. It is, I know people say it's impossible. It's not impossible, but we can't ignore the fact that it is kind of difficult. So I guess just work hard, and like if you need a day off, take that day so that the next day or the next coming week you can go in full force instead of working like half of your potential just to say you work every day.
And don't make notes in second year.
Mm.
Honestly, you can't make notes for everything because you'll never like finish making the notes. With like histo and embryo, there's those handwritten notes. I don't know if they're still in the Google Drives. Just use them on your laptop or try and print them out if you can. Yeah,
Mm.
making notes is not fun. Even now, it's not nice during lockdown.
Try to consolidate all your notes into one place. Like instead of looking at a lot of different resources after you've like studied
Yeah,
something, try and like not even, not to say that you write everything over again, but try to like annotate the notes that you already have, or add something that was in the lecture but is not in the slides on one thing, so that you have, it's less stressful, it looks like less work when you have to revise for like end of third block. And don't go back to the same thing and learn something the same way over and over again, like start a lecture over like 5 times. Don't do that, because you don't know, that way you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what you actually know, because you're doing the same thing, you're just reading over and over again. I'd say after you know that you've done the lecture, you've gone to the textbook, you've collected every resource you can, just take your learning objectives, ask yourself if you know this, and if you can answer those questions, then you know what you need to actually go back to, instead of spending 2 hours doing a lecture that you actually know. I'd say that that's very helpful. Use different resources to revise the work, like past papers and learning objectives. Sometimes videos help to like do things a bit faster. So just try and find different ways to study so that you're not spending hours every single time you revise your work. Because second year is a lot of memorizing, a lot of revising work, and you don't want to spend an eternity just studying. You can learn very unnecessary amounts of detail and waste your time. First, start and follow what the lecturer actually wants before you go to the textbook. Use the textbook, but use them cautiously, because you can stress yourself out over nothing. I personally have never seen what the physiology textbook looks like. So I would say
Don't
try
use
to
it.
find other resources.
Yeah, I agree. I hate textbooks, like I don't think the only textbook I used in second year myself was Netter's. But I mean, I guess I should have used the histology textbook, but histology wasn't my subject. So we'll talk to other people about histo.
Another thing about histology is Mrs. J basically gives you like what she's gonna ask you. Follow your learning objectives to
True.
like take your learning objectives, take your textbook and every resource you have, and if you can answer all of your learning objectives, you're done. Like she tells you what she wants to ask. So don't just learn stuff just to learn it. Follow what she says, what is on the learning objectives. That way you know you have everything covered. Even if it's not in the slides, look for it in the textbooks according to what's on your learning objectives. That way histology is not that hard, but it's very easy to ignore it. I know it is. It's very easy.
It's where you can get your marks, honestly.
And I think histology is a subject that actually wasn't emphasized enough in second year, in the sense that I feel like histology should have been its own subject, because for me it is the most important subject in third year, right? Because pathology, they don't come and tell you what the normal histology looks like.
And anatomy is more of like a visual subject, in the sense that if you can see the picture, you can describe it in words. Literally, sometimes you don't even have to know the words. You can just make sense of like they can ask a question and you can imagine it, and then you can see the answer sometimes, and you can guess really. Because I know with me, I hated textbooks, like the textbooks for clinical and ed. I use textbooks a lot. I prefer textbooks over lecture notes. But clinically orientated, that's a horrible book to even open. I only opened that book in block 1 and out I never did again. Ever. Because it's just so long. It makes everything confusing, and you'll learn unnecessary facts, like Zane said. You'll just know irrelevant things. And when you get to the test, you won't know anything. And just, you need to find what works for you.
With histology is learn your histological basics. So learn what adipose tissue looks like, what collagen looks like, what makes something basophilic or eosinophilic, so that with every other organ system that follows, you know what things look like, so you can know that in each slide what this is and what that is. Not just look at it in terms of the system, but if you know what it looks like, then you'll easily know the function, and they can give you whatever slide they want to give you. You'll know that this is elastic tissue and this is collagen and this is whatnot. It'll become a lot easier with the organ systems if you know your basics.
Especially glands, guys. Glands is something, as you get to abdomen, please make sure you know the glands, or else the histology of the GIT, and it's gonna be a lot.
I only studied embryology in the end of block 1. And after that, I never looked back because there was never enough time to study the embryology. And because I studied my histo very hard, I studied histo more than I did gross. Because I know that you can't really pass anatomy without passing histo. Because if you want to pass, it's easy to pass gross because, yeah, you can finesse that, but you can't try and guess histo. It won't work. It's either you know the thing or you don't, and then
you can take your roadmaps and then when you revise, annotate on the roadmaps the things that you can remember. Especially with anatomy, don't revise something without looking at the diagram. That way you're knocking off studying for spot and for your written test. And anatomy is a very visual subject, so you can think that you know something, but if you can't see it and you can't visual, and especially because you guys don't have dissections, you need to get into looking at stuff and seeing how it works. A clean netters is not going to help you. Make notes in your netters. Write posts, write in pencil in your netters.
Highlight those labels.
Highlight everything. Your netters has to be like full of notes.
My netters, I've highlighted and I wrote notes from the lectures and all of that type of stuff. By the end of the year, when I was studying for Spot, I didn't open a lecture slide again. I didn't open anything. All I did was I had my netters and I just paged through the netters. Like I was just looking at pictures and looking, oh, so that's the border of this thing. Oh, okay, cool, page. And it was so fast studying. Like I think I used one day to study anatomy, the whole year's work. So if you guys work diligently with that now, you can do it. It's never too late to start. That's also the other thing you need to realize, is that if you haven't been doing this whole netters thing and writing notes in netters, just ask me or ask anyone and you just get notes from someone that you can quickly jot down into your netters or whatever, but it's never too late to start. So don't think that you can't do it anymore. But it's very important, like they're saying, that you need to study anatomy visually. You can't study anatomy with words. It's not going to work. You will forget everything. By the time you guys are getting to like block 3, you want to be making sure that your studying is very much based on past papers only. Like that's what I did, especially for anatomy. So at the time that you guys are getting to block 3, right, I would set up a group. You guys can sit together and you just go through past papers, past paper after past paper after past paper. You do the block 1 past papers, you do the block 2 past papers, you do the block 3, you do the exam, you do everything, because that's how you're going to teach yourself the work again. You see what I'm saying? So you don't have to go through lecture slides again and textbooks again, because you've done that when you were learning that section or when you were learning that region. So now when you're doing it for the end of block exam, you sit down with your friends and you guys do past papers. And the reason I also say do it with your friends is because it's way faster than doing it alone if you're doing past papers. For me, how I would approach physiology, and then I'll let the others speak, is first of all, right, you need to go through the lectures, right? And I know the lecture notes are like quite whack in block 2 in terms of the nervous system physiology stuff, right? But you need to find a way to go through that content. So try maybe go through the lectures and then maybe look at videos like Zane was saying and all of that, right? But for me, what really taught me the most in physiology and where I learned a lot of my content was on equip, right? So what I would do, right, and how I would advise you guys to do physio is you want to start by understanding the section. So you battle it out with your lecture slides or whatever notes that you guys have now that it's online. You're gonna have to sit down and battle it, until you have some rough idea of it. You might not understand everything, but you have like a rough idea of what's going on in that section. Then what you do is you go from that section, now you go on to equip. Right, and what I used to do is I used to do 10 equip questions every evening, right? So every evening I would do them just before I go to bed, if I could, So I would do like 10 equip questions, and I would do it like eventually I would finish a section and then go to the next section. So let's say I was doing equip questions on immunology or something, then you've done all 50 questions in 5 days, and you go to the next section. Right, so let's say now you're on this motor nervous system, right? So then you do your 10 equip questions, and when you're doing equip, whether you get the answer right or wrong, the MCQs right or wrong, you must go in and read the comment, right? Comment on equip that you will learn the physiology, right? So it's in those comments on equip where it says, is this included? You say true. You could have said true, but your reasoning is wrong, right? So that's why you need to go and read the comment, right? And now the other thing you guys need to think of with physiology is understanding that it's a pathway. Everything in physiology and the body is a pathway. So what I would do, right, is I only made notes in second year on sections that I struggled with. So for me, or if I couldn't find, I would make notes on a section that I struggled with, or if I couldn't find notes, for example, with the central nervous system, right? the lecture slides were crap, right? So what I did was I found notes on the Google Drive, and I'll try and find them for you. It was just like Word documents, and it was many pages. There were like 30 pages or so, and I printed them, right? And what I did is I literally did those notes, right? And then I found pictures on the internet every time I couldn't see something in my mind, you know. So then I would find a picture and then I would read it and try and understand it again. With the nervous system, you know, this block is rough on physio.
The nervous system with physiology, the lecturers are not great. Osmosis is pretty good. Armando Surigan on YouTube is pretty good.
Please make sure that you know those pathways like very well. Those spinothalamic tract pathways, that's going to form the bulk of your PSE or your APQs in the physiology paper for this block, is the spinothalamic tract pathways and stuff like that. And the other thing that comes up a lot in PSEs and APQs is the eye, you know, the optic pathway. When is it going to dilate? When is it going to constrict? And then also know your muscles, you know, which ones are innervated by which cranial nerve, because that's going to show you like if there's going to be medial deviation of the eye or lateral deviation of the eye or whatever the case may be because of some muscle that's not working. That's going to help you refine your studying for physiology.
Another thing with physio is you don't need to necessarily ask that lecturer the questions that you have. Other lecturers can be helpful, like Professor Ilwanger is pretty good at answering questions.
Yeah.
But remember that everything is a pathway. So you want to understand, I don't know, right heart failure or something like that, and how left heart failure would lead to, I don't know, something like pulmonary edema or whatever. So what you want to do in your mind is you have to have a pathway from beginning to end. And that's how you answer questions in physiology. Because if you don't have a pathway from beginning to end and you say left heart failure results in pulmonary edema, you'll lose marks because they know that it's true and your answer is correct, but the mechanism is not there, you know. So you have to always have like a flow diagram. Think of physiology as like this continuous flow diagram for every single system in the body, you know. So left heart failure, when the left heart can't pump blood, there's blood that accumulates, and then the blood accumulates and then it goes into the pulmonary circulation, and then in the pulmonary circulation, something like the hydrostatic pressures increase, and then that causes edema. I don't know if that's the answer, but do you see how you have like this mechanism, like this flow chart, and that's how you need to answer questions in physiology. And that's how you're going to get your most marks. So you want to teach yourself while you're studying to think like that, you know. So you, again, let's take another example in the nervous system. So you need to start from the right optic nerve all the way to the end. You can't just say the person will be blind in this part of the eye. You know, that's true, yes, but you need to start as a pathway, and that's how you need to study it as well. You need to keep on studying pathways, right? But you will learn those pathways on EQUIP, you know. So EQUIP is your go-to for me in physiology. It's like the Bible of physiology. I can guarantee you guys that if you do all of the EQUIP questions, right, you will get at least 70% for the MCQs in the physiology part, this MCQ section of the physiology part, because most of it is repetition or repetitive questions, maybe with different values, but it's the same thing, you know. So I can't stress EQUIP like enough. It's so important for physiology. And also once you understand the mechanisms through EQUIP, then you can transfer those mechanisms to your APQ questions, and you can transfer those same mechanisms to your PSE questions. Right, but then to get full marks in PSEs, you need to explain the entire pathway, not just say you get.
Explain it. Like even if you think it's stupid, explain it like you're explaining to a 5-year-old. You'll get. It's possible to get full marks for PSEs. Very possible.
Add as much detail as you can, relevant detail.
I think, you know, the PSE is, you can get very high marks for the PSE. The APQ, there's negative marking, guys, and I learned that the hard way because for 2 whole tests, I didn't know that there was negative marking, so I even answered things I didn't know. but then I learned. And I feel like with the MCQs, you don't really have a reason to do like bad. At least 70% for the MCQs, you can get that just from doing equip. And honestly, I feel like studying the theory for physiology, it does kind of help, but it won't help you as much as doing the actual past papers and understanding like how you're supposed to answer. Because I feel like for the APQs and the PSE, it's not really theoretical work. It's like, okay, if a person has this, you need to like be able to identify, like with what Ryan is saying now. If a person has like mitral regurgitation, you need to know which pressure is going to be high and whatever the systolic, whatever. I don't remember none of that stuff, but yeah, you need to like see that this variable is going to do this. So what I used to do, right? I just don't have my physiology book with me here. I used to like compare, especially with like CNS and CNS. The pathways are very important. Like if you don't know the pathways, you don't understand the work. You can cram all those notes, but if you don't understand the mechanism and the physiology, how it works, you won't be able to answer the question basically. Okay, with MOMED, here's my 2 cents. MOMED is like, MOMED is studying. You need to repeat it and 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 get tired of repeating it and repeat it again. Because I found it very difficult. I found MOMED very difficult out of everything, honestly. Because it was like the work was boring. Sure, the work was so boring. And the PSCs, I never used to answer those. Like it was like a social time, honestly, for me. And it was Friday, so it made things worse. But yeah, I feel like MOMED is structured so nicely that the work flows. So you don't have to like try and organize it for yourself and anything like that. All you need to do is learn the work.
MOMED is the most detailed subject for me. It's got a lot of information and it's very packed with information, right? So you want to be engaging with that work a lot. And what that means and how I did that, right, was I think I didn't go to the what's that thing, the ADPs for MOMED, right? But those apparently helped a lot, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't go to those, right? But what I did is I would always do a MOMED. Let's say we learned a lecture today in MOMED. I'll go home that day and I would read through that lecture again, right? That you have to do. It's not negotiable. You have to read it again, you know. And then the other thing that I would do with MOMED is you want to go to the PSEs and you want to try and actively, like, I know it can be boring and it's like tough and, you know, but you actually want to actively like listen in the PSE and actively try and answer those questions. The reason being is that those questions and the way they ask those questions in PSE is exactly what you're going to get in the paper, right? So if you do the PSE questions and you understand them and you understand that layout of the paper is the exact same thing. It's going to be laid out exactly the same way as a PSE. And also what I used to do with my friends is we would sit like the weekend before a MOMED paper and then we'd do MCQs together. That's literally what we did. The MCQ past papers, we did all of them, you know, and it doesn't take long for the MOMED past papers.
It's a lot of detail. It's easily ignored, and a lot of people that did bad in our year stayed behind because of MOMED. So that proves that it's not as unimportant as people think it is. My advice is do your PSEs thoroughly, and right before the test, just take all your PSEs after maybe you've studied, after you've done other MCQs, and just look through them. Because I'm telling you, there have been like maybe 50% of questions in PSEs that were exactly repeated in the test, like exactly. Dr. Keen will not teach you something she won't ask you. So if you don't look at something and think it's not, she asks everything that she teaches.
Oh.
Everything. wants
Yeah.
to see that you engaged with the work. So look at your PSEs again, even after like just before the test, just like page through them. Genetics is a mess. It's the worst organized block in MOMED in terms of MOMED. So I think just with that block, do your PSEs, because some of the things they teach in genetics, you won't answer them the same way in a PSE as you would in the lectures, because it's a lot of uncertainty in genetics. You're never 100% sure of something. So engage with those things. Listen to Dr. Keen. It is a very like detailed, dense subject. So repetition is something that you need to do. Negative marking for MOMED is brutal.
Yeah.
Like it can mess you up. Like if you're really, really unsure, rather answer the things you are 100% sure of that you actually can secure marks for, instead of answering things you're sure of and things you're unsure of, and you'll just cancel out the things that you already know. You lose those marks as well because of negative marking. It's not an easy subject, but as long as you're diligent with it and you revise it regularly. And if you have a question for Mohammed, email Dr. Keen, email Dr. Wali. They will help you with pleasure.
I think the first two blocks of MOMED are quite boring, right? But then cancer is the most fascinating block ever, right? But it's also so complicated. So the thing with cancer is that it builds completely on your knowledge from genetics and from block one. Immunology and those signaling pathways will come back hardcore in the cancer block, full force, right? So with MOMED, right, you want to do those PSEs, like she said, properly, because Dr. Keen as well, right? She will explain something in the PSE, for example, and she will put that in the test, like something like polycythemia rubra vera. That thing is in cancer all over the place, and she loved it, and you know she loves it, and she will put it in the test in detail. So Dr. Keen, every single lecture that has Dr. Keen's name on it, you must know that lecture from back to front, because Dr. Keen is the she expects you to know things, you know, like she expects you to know it, and she expects you to know it well, you know. And Dr. Keen is also the course coordinator in hematology, which is your block 3 of 3rd year, which is what we're doing now, right? And she, like, moment from histology, the other subject I think is the most important for 3rd year so far is MOMED, because it comes back in so many forms, you know. So please study it well. So like a week before the test, right, I would start going through the lecture slides for make sure that let's say it's Monday today, and then I'm writing the next Monday, right? I would divide the lecture. Like you have like 6 weeks or 5 weeks of lectures to go through. I would go through, like, I don't know, I would make sure I go through those pack of notes twice within that week at least, right? And then the Saturday and Sunday I was doing past papers with my friends, and I was going through the PSEs again. So I think that's how you can approach MOMED.
I want to talk about MOMED, right? So personally, I found MOMED easy. Like this is a man said, do what you did on the day, on the day. Do not save it for a weekend. It's gonna be doing all of it for the first time in the weekend. Do what you did on the day, and then learning objective. Make sure you can answer, if I may say, answer the question without even looking at the notes. That's when you know you've properly covered the work in that lecture. And then do your PSEs. PSE, PSE, PSE. do your PSC, make sure you understand. Don't just passively do it, because it's very easy to just complete it, mark yourself correct, then you're done. Make sure you are actively doing it, you understand the work. Yo, I cannot stress this enough. And ADPs, ADPs help you to establish an approach. They help you to be able to know how to approach questions, know how to find a train of thoughts when answering questions related to MOMED. So ADPs, do them to train yourself for the MOMED like way of thinking, because they don't necessarily have work that you questions that you'll find in the test or exam, because it's just past papers. So do them to establish that approach. They help you in that approach. Even when you attend the ADP, when Dr. Kino, Dr. Wali is explaining,
with MOMED, you like we said, please do the PSCs and ADPs and all of that type of stuff. But I think MOMED is actually quite an easy subject. So that was the most failed subject, because physiology is completely about understanding and it's not about theory, But MOMED is about it's all about, with MOMED you get what you deserve. Like, it's MOMED and anatomy, those two subjects, you get what you deserve. If you put in the effort into those subjects and if you work at those subjects, you will get those marks that you deserve, like, properly. You won't, I promise you, But then if you don't, and if you don't study it correctly, you won't get the marks. Yeah, so I think a good place to start with MOMED is make sure you understand the concept first, right? So let's say, for example, lecture about, let me think into genetics. Let's say you have a lecture about chromosomal abnormalities, right? So you want to first understand the concepts, like understand the broad topic and what's going on over there. And then you go and pad it like with the specifics, because it will be like, okay, I understand like a Robertsonian translocation, or I understand, like, you understand the stuff properly. Now, once you understand the concept, you go back to that lecture and you're like, okay, Robertsonian translocation, T3XY, whatever things happen. What is that abnormality? Do you see what I'm saying? So once you understand the concept of the structural abnormalities or whatever, then you go and you add the specific things. But the thing is that MOMED, they will ask you, like, there will be a chunk of your paper that's specifics, right? That was those were the questions that I used to get wrong, because I'm not good at studying. Like, 30% of people in Africa have, I don't know, there's 30% of people in Africa that are Ashkenazi Jews. And I'm like, I don't care about that stuff. Do you get what I'm saying? So for me, that was where I lost a lot of marks. But what I did towards the end, right, was I would start first by understanding the concept, the broad concept, and then I would go and add some specifics. And also, guys, please try your best to like kill it now in MOMED, because you're gonna get to block 4 in MOMED where it's microbiology. And for me, that block made no sense. But please just make sure that you are trying your best now with the content that you're doing now in genetics and cancer as well. Cancer is great, but cancer is that block that you have to stay on top of from the beginning.
With regards to like revision and stuff like that, if you learn your work properly, by block 3, you won't really need to learn new things, because block 3 is a mess, honestly. Personally, I didn't even care for anatomy like in block 3, because I was trying to save my other subjects. Because anatomy is the worst out of all of them. You literally won't finish studying. Block 2, head and neck and neuroanatomy. You'll feel like you forgot all of that, and I personally didn't study that for end of block 3, because I knew that if I did, I'd confuse myself even more. So I just went and I revised everything. I just read through everything. So you need to like make sure like you don't lose like bases with what you've done before. Don't focus too much on what you need to do. Also, like, make sure that what you've done, you've actually done it. And you just haven't got, like, if you just get through the lecture, it doesn't help, really. It really doesn't help. You need to, like, get through the work, understanding the work.
for studying everything across all the subjects, plan when you're studying what. Because if you study mindlessly, you'll never finish studying. You'll think you have time, but you don't. So like plan out, and sometimes yes, you won't finish, but at least if you know how far you are and what more you need to study, it'll motivate you to study more and to actually keep on track, because you can think you have like a week and think that's a lot of time, but second year it's very dense. So just know what you still need to do and know what you've done already.
And the best way to do that is to like, I would like to take a chance in the test, but once you find what works for you, you'll know that this works and you'll continue doing that and you'll improve on that. Good luck with second year, and yeah, it's not the worst thing that can happen to your life. There's worse things out there, like coronavirus. And yeah, stay safe.
I hope we answered your questions. But again, thank you guys so much. Yeah, I'll see you guys when I see you.